Why has the Ummah not moved so far?
Is the Ummah dead? The Ummah is controlled by tyrants who don't care about Gaza. We need to change our thinking. They don't have any strategy.
Yeah.
They are not sincere towards their Ummah.
Yeah.
They care only about themselves. They don't care about the killings in Gaza.
Where does the emphasis have to be? At the top or from the grassroots?
The Muslims are waiting for a leader. The number of those who graduate in Sharia with Sharia degree every year is 50,000. Where are they? Every week there is 1 million Jum'ah khutbah. Where is the effect of that? It's not enough to cry about it. We have to do something. Okay, let's think now. Because I'm a thinking Muslim.
Gaza has been a hurtful experience. The liberal West that had always told us that they believed in a moral philosophy had betrayed their so-called high values to protect their own imperial interests. This may not be surprising to many of us. The past 25 years of the war on terror has illustrated to the Muslim world what really makes the West tragically successful: the systematic use of organized violence and an ability to mask this through the sometimes overt and sometimes subtle use of tools of propaganda. Their hypocrisy is laid to bear. But what of the Muslim Ummah? This year we saw the passing of a milestone, 100 years without a central leadership. The last Ottoman Caliphate, with all its faults, remained a global force and acted as a shield for the Ummah. So why have we declined to such a degree? And it seems our leadership is inept and our Ummah has not moved over Gaza. So what can we as Muslims do about this? We're joined today once again by Dr. Tareq Suwaidan. Dr. Tareq Suwaidan is a prolific writer and speaker and trainer, and in many ways has brought much needed intellectual thought to our modern age. Dr. Suwaidan, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. It's a pleasure to be with you and your audience, and thank you for inviting me again.
Well, Dr. Suwaidan, we've got a really interesting conversation to be had today. I know that, alhamdulillah, you put a lot of effort and thought into the subject of the Ummah and its state today. Now, Dr. Suwaidan, if you don't mind me saying, you are a veteran of the Muslim activism scene, of the Muslim da'wah scene. We've seen nearly 10 months of horrific scenes over Gaza. Why has the Ummah not moved so far?
طيب, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. And thank you again for inviting me and being with your audience. And thank you for bringing these thoughtful ideas. And the Thinking Muslim is a great idea to move the minds, because that's what we need today. Before I talk about the Ummah, let me talk about Gaza has shown the failure of humanity. And especially the West.
Yeah.
Double standards. They condemn violence and they provide millions, billions to those who commit violence. They are with the innocent and they provide the bombs that kill these innocent. So it's a huge failure, not only for the Ummah. It's a huge failure for the whole of humanity. Now, back to the Ummah. The Muslim Ummah, we have to describe it correctly, Jalal. Is the Ummah dead? Okay?
Yeah.
No, the Ummah is not dead. But the Ummah is very, very sick. And we have been sick gradually. For the past 400 years, we have been sick. And this sickness, sometimes when you see a sick person, sometimes the sickness is so bad that you're not sure whether they are alive or not. So you have to check their vitals to ensure that they are alive. So the Ummah is in that situation. Alhamdulillah, this has changed a little bit. Your generation have not seen this. Our generation have seen it. And before 1967, the situation was much, much worse than today. Much worse. And you won't believe that even in Islamic thought, and this is your subject, that simple things, simple ideas that are taken for granted today, at that time, they were considered revolutionary.
Really?
When we say Islam is fit for all times and all places, that was revolutionary at that time. If we say politics is part of Islam, we were considered kuffar.
Allah.
That, yeah, akhi, I remember when I went into the masjid when I was 17 years old. Wallahi, akhi, everyone turned. They were surprised. There is a young man entering the masjid.
Allah.
Today, you see, the whole situation is different.
Yes.
The masajid, mashallah, is full of the youth, and there are thinking Muslims, and there is a lot of projects that are great. I have seen so many, mashallah, and especially our generation in the West, that the Muslims in the West, mashallah, are just outstanding. And the young people, mashallah, every one of them is having a project or part of a project. This is not available in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, yani there are major changes. So why did the Ummah did not move? Because the Ummah is very, very sick.
Yeah.
And the Ummah is controlled by tyrants who don't care about Gaza. As a matter of fact, they are willing to have peace with Israel just to stay in power. So we have tyrants, we have traitors that govern us, and that is the situation with the Ummah today, and that is why the Ummah did not move. If the Ummah finds the correct leadership that will motivate it, the Ummah will move, and the sickness will gradually go away, inshallah.
So do you think it's really a leadership issue? Because some would argue, even if we had good, strong leadership, the Ummah's sickness is so broad now and so inset that the Ummah wouldn't move even with a great leader.
I have this a deep study on this issue, and this study has continued. I started this study in 1986, and I kept thinking about this for all of this time. How can we revive the Ummah? So let's start with the sickness.
Yes.
It is not leadership only.
No.
There are 5 major sicknesses that the Ummah faces. The first one is the problem of behavior. Our behavior is not Islamic. Islam tells us something and we do something else. You can see this very clearly in our behavior, even in the streets. We are not organized. We are not, unfortunately, Muslims are not clean. This is not Islamic. Behavior between a person and his family, you see so many problems, violence towards women and children, etc. So we have a problem of behavior. Even our behavior with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet. You see so many who do not pray. You see so many who even when they pray, they just do it because it is an obligatory thing. There is no relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their prayers. So we have a problem. We have a problem of behavior. The second major problem that we have is that we are backward. We have been backward. We are still backward in education. I'm talking about the Ummah. I'm not talking about specific country. Education and health and military. And we are backward. So, and the World Competitiveness Report that is published yearly shows that Muslims are not even in the first 20 countries. We are not there. And if you look at the last 10 countries out of 140, you'll see 7 Muslim countries in that category. So that's not Islam. The third major problem that we face is the problem of effectiveness. We are not productive. We are not effective as individuals, as organizations, as companies, as countries. We are not as productive as the advanced world. So we have a major problem on that issue. The fourth major problem that we have is in the matters of thought. We are still in some matters of thought, we have major problems. For example, even in Islamic movements today, rarely you see women in the leadership positions. That is because of tradition, because of 400 years of backwardness. We are still affected by it. You don't see this in the Western world, but you see it very clearly, even in the Islamic movement. That is backward. So we need to change our thinking, the way we look at at Islam and the world. And finally, the problem of leadership. We have a huge problem of leadership. Yeah, this because I've written 10 books just on leadership. We have a huge problem. The science of leadership is not well advanced in our ummah. It's not widespread.
Yeah.
And leadership training is really, really weak. And thus, we have a problem in leadership in all levels, not only on political or the highest, on all levels, even on the leadership of companies, of households, we have a problem. And it's in all areas of life. It's not only politics. So you see, the problem with education is leadership. The problem with health is leadership. Yeah, and because I'm an educator and you are an educator, do you know that the spending on education in the Middle East per capita is more than it is in Japan? But where is the results?
Right.
So yes, we have problems not only in leadership, we have a problem in all of these areas.
I noticed, Dr. Suwaidan, when you, and the fascinating points that you've raised, and I think these are really important areas that we need to provide thinking about. But I noticed you didn't mention the external factors, Western interference here. Now, if we go back to the subject of Gaza, we know that there is behind Israel, there is the United States. The United States provides 70-80% of its military power, and beyond that, the United States provides a diplomatic and political cover. And in relation to the Muslim world, you can almost suggest that at least the leadership, but if not all of these areas, are impacted by just the manner in which the West has configured these Muslim countries to serve its own interests. So how much weight do you give to foreign interference in this schema?
We separate when we analyze, because that's what we do when we do strategy. When we do strategy, we look at four areas. The first one is the present.
Right.
And these factors that I mentioned are a quick analysis of the present, and that is only on the challenges side. There is another side of studying the present, and that is our capabilities or core competencies.
Right.
Now, so the four major areas are, in short, looking at the present, looking at the future, looking at the plan to move from the present to the future, and looking at the resistance that will stop us. So foreign intervention does not fall under our internal analysis.
Yeah.
It falls under the resistance that faces us.
That's really interesting. Now, you've given a lot of thinking to this. I just want to raise an impediment, or at least an excuse that many people make about the current situation in Gaza. So I've noticed that there is an uproar, especially on social media, against the Muslim rulers and their inaction, and sometimes action in the wrong way over Gaza. But there's always a counter-argument which suggests that maybe they're being strategic. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah is used quite a lot. The Prophet ﷺ signed an asymmetric treaty with the people with Mecca. And maybe there is a grand plan here in the leadership where, similar to the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there is a strategy, a strategic mind here. I mean, what would you say about this?
Well, I wish I assure you that is not the situation. I assure you. Okay, we know who are we ruled by. No, they don't have any strategy.
Yeah.
They are not sincere towards their ummah.
Yeah.
They care only about themselves. They don't care about the killings in Gaza.
Yeah.
And they are against the resistance that Hamas and the others are doing.
Yeah.
So that is the truth about it. Now, using the truth of the Hudaybiyah as an excuse is a good way to escape blame.
Yes.
But no, ya akhi, it's not. See, the truth was done in a way that would guarantee that the Muslims have the right to go back and get their rights. Scholars have talked deeply about what happened in Hudaybiyah. Yes. Let's assume that we will take Hudaybiyah as an excuse, because I'm a historian and also I have a full study of the seerah. Most scholars agree on the following: that if you are going to have a truce, it is not allowed to have a truce more than 10 years.
A temporary truce.
A temporary truce, and most of it specify it in 10 years. Now, whether it's 10 years or not, that's an issue of difference among scholars. Yeah. But what is not being disputed among scholars is you cannot have a permanent peace. You cannot. This is not allowed in Islam. Now, our rulers are for normalization of relations and permanent peace. So, no, we're not talking about sincere people.
Yeah. Back to the subject of decline, I came across an interesting work by an American academic who suggested that, like the Roman Empire or like previous empires, the Muslim Ummah was once a great empire, but today it's really about managing decline. Like the trajectory is downwards. You seem to suggest that there is a possibility to U-turn and to excel and revive once again. What makes you think that?
Okay, if we want to draw the curve, I have done this, a full study on this. The curve goes like this, ya akhi. You jump at the time of the Prophet and the Khulafa al-Rashidin.
Yes.
The upward direction of the Ummah continues.
Yes.
In the Umayyads and the Abbasids. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that they are pure. It means that the curve in general was upward. Yeah. The Ummah was strong and getting stronger. And science and math and even Sharia studies and so on, all kinds of sciences and humanities were well developed during that time. And the Ummah became the leader of the whole world on this, and this is well known. Yes. So we continued the upwards. Of course, there were declines during this period, but when you look at the curve of a nation, you do not look at battles. You look at the curve, meaning that you could lose a battle, you could win a battle, you could lose a certain civilization factor, you gain it again. It doesn't matter. You don't look at these small points. You look at the curve in general.
Yes.
So the curve in general was moving upward. Yes. Now it comes the Ottomanis. The Ottomanis, the curve continues but starts to decline.
Yeah.
But it's still going upward. And during the time of Muhammad al-Fatih, Sulaiman al-Qanuni, etc., it continued to go upward. That continued exactly, ya akhi, until 998 of Hijrah. What happened on that year? The third siege of Vienna.
Yes.
The Ottomanis failed. Since that point, ya akhi, we have been going downward. What does that mean? We're losing most battles, we're losing most lands, and there is no addition to any civilization. no sciences, and the Sharia itself becomes no creativity. See, I studied the books of that time. You'll be amazed, ya akhi. Let me tell you what you'll see at that time. You'll see, for example, in the Maliki fiqh, you'll see people writing summaries and summaries and summaries of what has been written in the past.
No original thought.
Until you reach Mukhtasar Khalil, which is a very small booklet, very complicated, but it does summarize all matters of fiqh. All matters. You can see in one sentence maybe 100 rulings. Wallahi, ya akhi. Amazing, yani. And then somebody comes and writes the explanation of Mukhtasar Khalil. And then somebody writes a commentary on Mukhtasar, on the explanation of Mukhtasar Khalil. And then you'll find somebody writing a commentary on the commentary. Wallahi, ya akhi, until you have 7 commentaries. And then you have somebody summarizing the whole thing again. So like it's like an accordion. You go up and then you squeeze and there's nothing new. Nothing new. That's what happened for 400 years. Now, are we still going down? And the answer is no, we're not.
Right.
We have already reached the bottom in 1967. When we lost Al-Quds, if you lose somebody sacred, something sacred, whether it's democracy, whether it's a holy land, etc., and you do not revolt, then you are either dead or really, really sick. So we lost Al-Quds and we did not revolt. But what happened, ya akhi, after that? Something amazing happened. After 1967, suddenly the whole Ummah wakes up. Before that, there were areas of awakening here and there. But after 1967, it's like a slap. Wallahi, suddenly you see the Islamic movement or organized Islamic work all over the world, from Indonesia to America, all over. And I went to America at the end of 1969. I stayed 17 years in America. And it was the golden time for our Islamic work at that time. So we were not living in the same conditions of almost dead before 1967. We became awake. Now we became awake as young generation, but our leaders are the results of the area and the era of colonization.
Right.
Those who colonized us, they left. But they left behind rulers who follow them and follow their interest. Now, I want to say something. And you are a political thinker. Ya akhi, we have the new generation have to understand. Even in our rulers, even with all that you see, things are moving in a upward direction. How? After 1967, the rulers followed the colonists completely.
Right.
Today, they are not sincere to the Ummah, but they do not follow the West or the East 100%. They follow, but not 100%.
Yeah.
And in the 70s, in the 80s, it was 100%, 90%. Yeah. Now I would estimate that they do follow 30, 40%. That is a huge improvement. Even in our traitors, we have a huge improvement. We have to look at the positive side always. So, for example, you see a ruler that does not listen to America and makes relations with China. This was unheard of for a long period of time. So the Ummah is reviving, and we are moving upward since 1967. Now, because of the dark situation that we see all over, people don't see it. But we as analysts, we do see it. So please have trust in your Ummah and believe in this revival of the Ummah. The Ummah is going, inshallah, to be revived very soon.
Is there anything to learn from the prophetic method when it comes to reviving the Ummah today?
Of course. Of course. So again, this is a subject that I studied deeply. I wrote 6 volumes on this. Yeah. It is not enough to read Seerah in a plain way. See, I call the way I teach Seerah, I call it Seerah in colors. Because people teach Seerah in black and white.
Yes.
So what does that mean? Let me give you an example. And think with me, since you're in the thinking Muslim. Let's think together.
Yes.
How to look at Seerah. So we can see how the Prophet ﷺ thought and how he acted. We all learned that on the 5th year of the message, not Hijrah, the 5th year of the message, the Prophet ﷺ sends some of his companions to Ethiopia, to Al-Habasha. And he says, go there because there is a just ruler that does not do injustice to anyone. So they go there. Why did he send these companions? Now, the books of Seerah, the teachers of Seerah will tell us, because they were oppressed. That's what we were taught. Okay, let's think now, because I'm a thinking Muslim. So let's think and answer these questions together. The first one who migrated, the first one was Uthman radiallahu anh, with his wife Ruqayya, the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is, by the way, in the hadith in Sahih Muslim.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not only in books of Seerah. Uthman was never oppressed. He was never touched. Why? Ruqayya was never touched. Why would they migrate? Another question. Who is the leader of the Muslims in Al-Habasha? Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. He is the son of Abu Talib. Why didn't the Prophet ﷺ himself migrate? Because he was under the protection of his uncle, Abu Talib. Now, Abu Talib would protect his nephew, but would not protect his own son? Doesn't make sense. And it is proven that Ja'far was never touched. And many others, by the way. Let's take another question. If it was for the reason of oppression, let's think. Okay. 83 Muslims go, 83 of the best Muslims. Zubair ibn al-Awwam, Uthman ibn Affan, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, Ruqayya, the daughter of the Prophet, etc., etc., etc. They stay in Habasha 15 years.
Yes.
Not a single person becomes a Muslim. In all of Al-Habasha, except Al-Najashi. Why?
No idea.
It doesn't happen even in the West today.
Yes.
15 years, not a single Muslim. There's something wrong. And fourth question. The Prophet ﷺ starts the migration to Al-Habasha. So people already go. And then he looks for somewhere else. What? Why does he look for somewhere else? Why doesn't he continue the migration to Habasha and sends more people and he goes himself? Why does he look for something else? Final question. The Prophet ﷺ migrates to Medina, starts his state in Medina. Now he has 83 of his best companions in Al-Habasha.
Yes.
Because they were oppressed in Mecca. Now there's no oppression in Medina. He rules Medina.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he bring them back? The trip from Habasha to Medina at that time takes 5 days. Why do they stay 7 more years?
Yes.
And they do not come until the Battle of Khaybar. And this is well known. The Prophet ﷺ saying, لا أدري بأيهما أنا أفرح بفتح خيبر أم بقدوم جعفر. I don't know which makes me happier, the conquer of Khaybar or the coming of Ja'far. So, conquer of Khaybar is on the year of 7 of Hijrah. So they stay 7 more years with no oppression. So let's think, huh? So you're asking me, can we learn from the seerah? Of course, if we think. If we take seerah as events, no, we do not learn. Ya akhi, the reason for this is written in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, غُلِبَتِ الرُّومِ. The Romans have been defeated by the Persians. What does that mean? Let's look at the strategy. Look at the whole picture. The Persians were ruling the east, Persia. They were ruling the northeast, Iraq. They were ruling the south, Yemen was under the Persians. And the west is Christian, Ethiopia. Northwest is Egypt under the Romans. In the north is Syria and surroundings under the Romans. So there was a balance of superpowers around Arabia. And then suddenly this breaks. And the Romans are defeated. And the Persians now control even the north. They took over Syria. And they took over Egypt. So the only place for Muslims to escape if the Persians take over Arabia is the west. So he sends them to the west. The proof to this, when does he bring them back? When? The 7th year of Hijrah. Something happened. He left them there 7 years, and then something happened, and he brings them. Scholars of Sirah don't talk about what happened. Why? He brought them back. What is that? That is just an event. Why did this happen? Ya akhi, on the 6th year of Hijrah, what happened? In the 6th year of Hijrah, Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, the truce of Hudaybiyah, which was unsure that it will be settled or not. Will Quraysh hold to their word and do not fight the Muslims? So he makes sure that now everything is under control. Suddenly Islam explodes in numbers, explodes. And now the Prophet ﷺ says something. Now we attack. We do not defend. So now Islam becomes powerful and a new stage of Islam happens. So now he sends to them and he says, come back. So what do we learn? We learn to have a strategy. We learn to look at the bigger picture. We learn that even when we are weak, it doesn't mean that we do not see the future and plan. So that's what we learn from the prophetic message.
That's really fantastic. So in essence, we have to think about not the present only, but think about Ummah from a broad strategic perspective. Back to that original question I had. I mean, we had the Prophet ﷺ, who was the leader, effectively, of the Ummah, the political and the spiritual leader of the Muslim Ummah. Today, I see that the absence of people like that at the top is what's creating this failure to provide strategic leadership from below. I mean, where does the emphasis have to be? At the top or from the grassroots?
Time has shifted, ya akhi. Time has changed. The Muslims are waiting for a leader, similar to the Prophet ﷺ, or to much a lesser degree, like Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, Muhammad al-Fatih.
Yes.
That today doesn't make sense.
Why?
Okay.
Yes.
As if the question is, we are all ready, and the only thing that is missing is a leader. It is not that.
Yeah.
If we look at the whole picture, then we see that I told you we have a problem in 5 areas, not only in leadership. And today, we do not need a leader to move. We need institutions. Institutions are much more stable than leadership.
Right.
Because you might one day have a great leader, few years later you might have a weak leader. But if you have institutions that are ruled democratically and they can change leadership easily, then they will replace these weak leaders and they will revive themselves continuously. So I do not see, I made this full strategic plan for the Ummah. And in the whole plan, there is no place for one leader that will revive everything. We are looking for leaders, not a leader.
Yeah.
And we are looking for leaders in every area of life, not a leader or leaders for each area of life. Meaning that in education, we are not waiting for one person to lead this. We are waiting for hundreds to lead this. So if everyone leads his or her institution and improves their area, then the Muslim Ummah will revive. So in my vision, I do not wait for a leader. That is a huge change in the present situation.
There is a conversation about how to bring the Muslim world and Ummah together beyond just the personal or the civilian aspects.
Yes.
And many cite the example of the European Union as a method, or as an example, as a model to reunify slowly and gradually Muslim countries through cultural, through political, through economic unions. How far do you accept that model?
I have looked into the strategic vision, and I imagined that we can reach a strategic vision in 20 years.
Right.
While strategic intent, which is the Islamic civilization, I do expect to take 50 to 80 years. Now, strategic vision, Islamic vision, I specified 2 major goals. The first one is to be competitive, meaning that the world today compete on who is first as a country, who is first in education, in health, in military, etc. We are out of this competition.
Yes.
My goal is to help my ummah to reach a strategic vision at that point where we are competitive. At least some of us are in that part of the best 10. So that is one goal. The second goal is not unity.
Okay.
But it is more of a confederation. I do not, of course, our goal is unity. But I'm talking as a strategist. Can we reach it in 20 years? And my answer is no. We can reach it maybe in 50 years. But in 20 years, we can reach this confederacy. What does that mean? That we can have some kind of agreements, and I specify them as follows. First one is the defense agreement, like the NATO. Second one is a foreign affairs agreement, like the European Parliament. The third one is a monetary agreement, like the euro. The fourth one is to open borders between our lands, like the Schengen. And the fifth one is to have a united criteria of judgment or assessments, like the ISO. That will unify education, will unify health, etc. Now, if you look at these five, ya akhi, it means that we can unite kingdoms and republics, doesn't matter. We don't have to change what is going on today. We don't have to crush systems. And it's even more than that. Today, most people cannot see Iran, for example, part of the Ummah. Because they are Shiite, because they cause trouble here and there. We can have a full discussion on this if you want.
Yes.
And that is true. But with this vision, Iran continues to be Shia and be part of this. See, in the European Union, there are kingdoms, there are republics. There are small countries, there are big countries. There are several languages, there are several religions, etc., etc. They did not change all of that, but they became strong by being united in these major areas. That is a model that we can follow, and we can do it better than them.
Yeah.
Because we have a united language, which is the language of the Quran. We have one religion. We have one history, etc., etc., etc. So we are closer to be united, and we can learn from their model. They took 77 years to reach that model. Now we have the model, and we have the bylaws, etc. So we can probably do it in 20 years.
Yeah.
So that is my vision in that area.
Can I ask you about, back to the conversation about Gaza?
Yes.
And I know we spoke about this quite a lot in our previous programs, but one dimension I haven't asked you about, and it has a connection with your vision, is maybe the poor quality of Muslim scholarship or Islamic scholarship at the moment. There is an issue of political co-option. These scholars often have too close a link with governments.
Yes.
But also there's an issue maybe linked to your civilizational schema. There's a problem with just thinking when it comes to Muslim scholarship. I mean, how do you rate current Muslim scholarship?
I told you that when we do strategy, we look at the present. They gave you some analysis of the present. We look at the vision and the strategic intent, and they gave you some ideas about this. And then we look at the resistance. Who will resist us from reaching that? I specified 5 powers of resistance. Of course, number 1 is dictatorships. Second is corruption. Third is corrupt scholars.
Really?
Fourth is the foreign intervention in our countries. And number 5, which is the biggest and most dangerous, and that is Zionism. So back to the scholars. Scholars, we can divide them in general into 3 categories. Sincere, working scholars, those who work really, truly for the revival of the Ummah. And there are some. But there are very few, unfortunately. Now, the majority are not corrupt scholars. but they are also not scholars that move. So these are, I will even not call them even scholars. These are graduates of Sharia. And these are the majority. Yeah, I don't know whether you know this, but the number of those who graduate in Sharia specification with Sharia degree every year is 50,000. Where are they? They have no effect. Do you know, Akhi, that every week there is 1 million Jum'ah khutbah in the Muslim world? 1 million, huh? That is the least estimate. Where is the effect of that? So this is the majority. Now these are not scholars, sheikhs, imams, etc., in a small masjid here and there.
Yes.
And they have nothing to do with civilization, nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with what's going on in the world. They lead a prayer and answer some personal fatwa issues, and that's it. Of course, there are a few scholars who aligned with the dictators. And they are a few, by the way. They are not the majority. They are the few. And they are the most dangerous.
Why?
Because they pave the way for the dictators in the name of Islam. They even allow killings of du'at by their own fatwa. So I tell you a very nice story. Al-Hajjaj, I don't know whether I mentioned this before to you. No. Okay. Al-Hajjaj was a big dictator in our history. Yes. At his time, he killed 250,000, which is equivalent to 25 million today. Huh? Yeah. 250,000. So one day, he ruled Iraq, Persia, and all the East in the name of the Umayyads. So one day he was in his palace, and his attendees were the ministers and the merchants and the corrupt scholars, but some good scholars attended, and one of them was a Sahabi. He was a very small Sahabi at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He became very old, 120 years old. So he was attending this meeting. Al-Hajjaj said something that was invalid, untrue. So one of the corrupt scholars said, Subhanallah. So this Sahabi said, I have never imagined that saying Subhanallah will be a sin until I saw it today.
Wow.
So again, this is my answer to you. These scholars say Subhanallah in that sense to these dictators. They do even more than that. I have heard one of them on TV saying the following to the ruler of his country: kill these leaders of the Islamic movement, and their blood is on me. Okay? So that is an answer to you. That's what they do. So they are really, really dangerous. We have a problem, ya akhi. We have a major problem. We cannot convince our ummah not to follow these people. We cannot. The ummah respects the scholars. Especially, this is a scholar in an official position, mufti, etc. So people respect scholars and listen to them.
Yeah.
And they will not listen to somebody like me telling them, don't listen to somebody like that. Because to them, that is a major scholar. Tareq Al Suwaidan, to them, is not a major scholar, because that holds a position. So what do we have to do? We have to train a new generation of scholars who don't learn only Sharia, They should learn three things, ya akhi. They should learn Sharia deeply. They should learn skills of affecting people. What are the skills that you can use or I can use to affect people? Media skills, authoring, writing articles, ability to have an interview.
Yeah.
They were not trained on such things. So that's why they're weak. But there is a third thing that they should be trained on, and that is values. Ya akhi, those scholars who supported the tyrants, do they lack knowledge?
Probably not.
No. What do they lack? Values. They don't lack knowledge. So no matter how much they study Sharia, and if we are heard by some of our young men and women who study Sharia, no matter how many books you memorize by heart, and no matter how deep you are in Sharia, that will not protect you from supporting tyrants.
Yeah.
What will support you is having a deep faith and deep adherence to values. That's what will support you.
Yeah.
And if you are not trained on that, you'll be weak. So we need to retrain our new generation of scholars. And we should help them become major scholars by giving them chances. See, how do you become famous? Today it's social media. So we should give them platforms to make them known. This is the way we replace these corrupt scholars.
Dr. Suwaidan, the pain that we feel from Gaza is immense. And there are some scenes we see on a daily basis. And, our heart is out of control. We feel a very deep sense of demoralization almost. You talked there about values. Can you remind us of the Islamic values that we need to hold on to in order to weather this really painful episode?
Ya akhi, I see TV like you do, and I hear news like you do. But I trained myself not to be moved by emotions. Emotions are important, but emotions alone is not a good thing. You feel pain, that will cause psychiatric issues to you.
Depression.
Yeah, depression, and you can sleep at night, and you cry all day, and so on. You will not live a normal life.
Yeah.
And with that, not only we lost you, but you lost us because we cannot benefit from you.
Yeah.
And thus you become an ineffective part of our revival. It is a major training in strategy, that if you want really to do strategy, you leave emotions aside. You cannot have strategy while you're an emotional person. So I feel the same pain, but I do not act this way. The moment I see more killing, immediately I would think, what can I do to stop this killing and punish these criminals that do these killings? That's how I think. So feeling a pain, if it will move you to do something, it will move you to donate, it will move you to make more prayers, it will move you to write, whatever, do something. But just feeling pain and crying will cause depression and will benefit nothing from you. And Gaza will benefit nothing from you. So this is the way we should think about it. But I think about it even in a deeper sense. See, I do follow, ya akhi, 7 news channels every day. And I'm talking American news channels, not only the Arab news channels.
Yes.
So I know the details of what's going on, even in America. And one of the things that I follow are the news from inside Israel. What do the Israelis say? What do the Israeli TVs say? What do the columnists say in Israel?
Yeah.
Ya akhi, you do not imagine the pain they are going through. So yes, we are in pain, but they are also in huge pain, huge. And if we talk only about the economy, these 10 months have destroyed their economy. And if you go read the details, but it destroyed their economy, not only now. It will continue affect them for the next 10 years. Their analysis is that they have lost $400 billion for the next 10 years. Now, all the American donations in the past 10 years, all of it is huge. But all of it is 320 billion. So they will be in pain. They are feeling pain in every area of life. And for the first time, Israel has shown its true face to the whole world. And people have seen the savageness. They are savages with what they're doing. They're killing, and they enjoy destroying the water tanks or whatever. What is the joy in destroying a water tank that would support people to drink? So they do it willingly, and they laugh about it. Leave aside killing thousands of children. So the first time they have shown their true face to the whole world. For the first time, countries have cut relations with them. UK itself is reviewing its stand on Gaza. That was unimaginable. The criminal justice have taken a stand against them, etc., etc. So many things. So yes, we are in pain, but they are also in pain. And ya akhi, if the war continues, Gaza will feel more pain. Muslims will feel more pain. But if that pain, sometimes pain is good. If that pain will move you to do something. Gaza have been in pain for 16 years, ya akhi, under siege for 16 years. Nobody felt it. Now when they moved, people start to cry about it. It's not enough to cry about it. We have to do something. So if that pain is moving us, that's good. If the pain of Gaza is bringing the attention of the world, that is good. If the pain of Gaza is bringing Israel down, that is good. If the pain of Gaza is showing the true face of the savage Israel, that is excellent. So let's look at the positive, not only the negative. So that is how every time I see the pain, wallahi ya akhi, every time, this is how I think.
Yeah.
What more can I do? Please, our audience, that is how you should think.
Yeah.
When you see the pain, it's not enough to cry. Let's give an example. We are almost at the end of August. Schools will come back soon. I hope for the new generation to revive the camps in the universities and demonstrations immediately. The moment schools come back, you should be ready to do it. Another thing that's coming soon, the anniversary of October 7. So you have now about a month and 1 week to plan for that anniversary. You should not wait until that moment to do something.
Yeah.
You should be ready to do something. This is how I think. Don't let pain bring you down. Let pain move you.
Jazakallah khair. It's really been a pleasure speaking to you today, Dr. Suwaidan. Thank you very much.
My honor, my pleasure, and inshallah, that has benefited your young generation and move them to do something to revive the Muslim Ummah.
Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Please remember to subscribe to our social media and YouTube channels and head over to our website thinkinmuslim.com to sign up to my weekly newsletter. Jazakallah khair.